what's up, y'all? I'm here to give you a Halloween pep talk. The holidays are upon us. Halloween is the first of the holidays, and I think most of us might benefit from some strategies around navigating Halloween and then how to maybe assess candies and treats coming in that your kids bring in, or maybe you bring in, or maybe people bring to work. That came up in our meeting today. And also how to make some better choices as far as stuff to give out, if you're participating in the trick-or-treat thing. So, whether you are 100% real foodie committed to being as optimal as you can, or whether you're somewhere in the middle of that spectrum trying to do the best you can, or you're just starting out trying to figure this stuff out, I think this is going to be useful information for all of us, because I think what happens is when you learn and understand something, you can't unlearn it and you can't help but make better decisions and choices, okay? So, let's get through this. First of all, I just want to make a plug for every day counts. As you're trying to optimize your health, your body, your mind, and your soul, every day counts. It really does. The further we get into this, the more we realize one day off is just not one day off, because it bleeds into other days. You have residual days where you don't feel good, and sometimes that day off ends up being a slippery slope for a lot of us, right? So what we don't want is to have a moment of being off and that leading into multiple days or weeks or months or just completely falling off track, So every day counts. It really does. And we also want to be easy and gentle and kind to ourselves and enjoy and indulge where we make a conscious decision to, but we just also have to understand that can be a very slippery slope. Every day counts, meaning especially in the holidays, we've got Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, we got vacation days, and those days really add up. So I think it's worth doing the best you can with what you have every single day that you can, because it all matters. So let's first talk about navigating events. Right? So you may be traveling. Again, we're specifically talking about Halloween right now. You may be traveling, you may be hosting some events, you may be going to some events, and we want to do the best that we can with what we have in front of us. I think it's a really good strategy to offer to, like, if you have a group of friends or you have family members that want to get together for Halloween, maybe offer to host something. And that way you can somewhat be specific about your guidelines and send those out ahead of time. And those guidelines may revolve around specific foods to bring, ingredients to avoid. A lot of the things that we're trying to do when we be healthy is just swapping one thing for another. So just requesting that people cook their things in appropriate traditional fats like butter and avocado oil and olive oil and ghee. So maybe hosting an event would be a good strategy for you to minimize some of the potential temptations. If you're going to visit someone ahead of time, don't feel bad about maybe sending some dietary preferences ahead of time. Let me give you an example. When I used to visit my sister, before she was completely on board with what we're doing, she would always ask me, "Hey, Paul, do you need anything before you come so I can have the refrigerator stocked?" And I would always tell her to get me some heavy cream, I think she was using butter at the time, but I'd probably emphasize butter, some meats, and coconut milk, canned coconut milk, and just some of the things that I knew would make my visit a little bit easier. And that way, she had some things that she could prepare for me, I could prepare myself, and the family could also do their things with the waffles and sandwiches and stuff like that. So, depending on who you're visiting and how comfortable you feel, that may feel appropriate or not. Okay. Also, when going to someone else's event, try to eat beforehand and fill up on nutrient-dense foods. I found for me it really works well to eat a really good meat and vegetable meal before going out, whether it's a party or an event or even going out to a restaurant or something, because I feel satiated and I don't have those cravings and temptations and urges that come from being really, really hungry. Right? It seems that when you're really hungry, you're a little bit more susceptible to things going wrong. And then also, try to do the right thing and just make the right choices with what's in front of you without being dramatic about it. I remember when I first started this years ago, for whatever reason, I just had this temptation to talk about what I was doing and why I was doing it. And what I realized is most people don't really care. They're not so interested in what it is you're doing. They're interested in what they're doing. So if you just go there and you choose the real food options, the meats and the vegetables and the safe starches and the fruits and things like that, and making the best decisions you can, and avoid the things that are obvious, like the wheats and the cookies and the cakes and things, to the best of your abilities, consciously participating in this process. If you just do that subtly without making a big deal about it, I think you're just going to fly under the radar, okay? You can learn to say no thank you very politely. You can rehearse it. I had to, okay? You can also rehearse a conversation around what it is that you're doing, if that feels appropriate, just in case someone asks you, so you have a planned way to talk about things. And then if you decide to indulge, perfectly fine. Just make sure that you consciously decide to do it. Maybe don't go overboard and just make the decision beforehand, before going out, before indulging, that you're going to get right back on it right away. All right, we're talking like that day. Okay, we don't want this to turn into multiple days. So that's just some strategies on attending events or hosting events. And now let's talk about assessing treats coming in. So my vision for this is that we have some parents that have kids that go out and do trick or treating, and they come back in with this huge bag of treats. I think we can all agree that the amount of treats that come in, there is no need for any kid to consume all that stuff by themselves. So why not go through it and pick out the best things possible so that you're minimizing the damage. I think most of us can acknowledge when our kids, your kids are off of wheat and some of these toxic foods, like their behavior's different, they're happier, they're cooler, they're calmer, their skin's better, their digestion's better. Their focus in school and things like that is better. So it's worth it. It's worth making these little decisions. So taking a big bag of treats and going through and trying to make the best decisions you can with what you got, I think would be a big win. So let's just talk about a few examples. There's a lot of things that we recommend avoiding. Okay, so we're talking about Halloween here. We're talking about minimizing the damage and a little bit better. Better is better. Okay. Um, we have our whole list of foods to avoid, but what I would consider to be the top things to avoid as assessing these foods would be wheat in any form. Usually it's going to be flour or whole wheat, maybe. Any of the artificial sweeteners, I'm giving you a list of what to look for: aspartame, sucralose, acylflame, potassium, and then saccharin. I don't really see those on a lot of candies and things, but just in case. And then definitely avoid the industrial seed oils. These things are so poisonous and toxic. I could go into like an hour-long tangent on how damaging they are to our bodies. You think about your kids and these developing bodies and developing brains, and I would say it's absolutely crucial to avoid these toxic oils. So what you're looking for specifically on labels is going to be anything hydrogenated or partially hydrogenated, and then specifically soybean, corn, and canola oil. So I went to a gas station and I tried to get the latest and greatest, because there's always recipes that are changing, ingredient lists that are changing, just to see what some of these popular candies were like. And so we pull up here, Hershey's milk chocolate. It actually doesn't turn out to be that bad. I think one of the worst things in here, milk chocolate, for people that are sensitive to dairy because it has a lot of milk solids, would be extremely problematic. But in general, we're looking for dark chocolate. But some Hershey's milk chocolate, the ingredients here just don't look that bad, right? So this might be something appropriate to let your kids indulge in. Snickers. Snickers used to have the worst list of ingredients, and I was blown away when I saw this list of ingredients here. We've got milk chocolate, we've got peanuts, we've got corn syrup. Yes, we can all agree that corn syrup is not the best ingredient in the world, but compared to things like wheat and the toxic oils, I think it's a win. It's a move in a better direction for sure. Palm oil, one of our approved fats. Right, so artificial flavor, we're not sure what that is in here. So I don't know. That's kind of pushing this into like a gray area, but I'd say there's definitely worse candies out there. So maybe Snickers, and reading the ingredients for sure, because maybe there's different versions of Snickers out there. This might be a step in a better direction and something you might allow your kids to. I want to caveat too that I am not saying that these things are okay in general or approved, and definitely not outside of Halloween. What I'm saying is, if we're trying to assess the treats coming in, this is a way to mitigate damage, okay? Reese's Peanut Butter Cups, same thing. Kind of blown away with the simple list of ingredients here. I think this would be a step in a better direction versus a lot of those other things out there that could be completely toxic. Now, M&Ms, we look at the list of ingredients here and we see that it's a long list of ingredients. That by itself is enough to make me want to turn away from this or discourage it. And then we see some things in here that would be what I would consider deal breakers, all right? Cornstarch. Cornstarch sounds like it's kind of harmless. If you get a non-GMO organic cornstarch as an ingredient, I wouldn't have as much a problem with it. But when I consume cornstarch in any version, my eczema flares up right away. My foot starts to itch almost immediately. And then we've got a lot of those artificial dyes. We've got some corn syrup in here. We've got a lot of those artificial colors and dyes. And I just think that for a young kid trying to figure this stuff out and feel as good as possible, I'm not sure M&M's is going to make the cut. Okay. And then we look at Skittles. Skittles, right off the bat, we see hydrogenated, although palm kernel oil is something that we would allow in general because it is hydrogenated. That makes it toxic, so I would definitely avoid this. We don't even have to go into the other ingredients, but then we see all the different artificial flavors, the colors, the dyes, preservatives, and I'd say this is definitely something that we want to stay away from. Butterfingers, blown away at the simple list of ingredients here. We got sugar, peanuts, corn syrup, again, not ideal in the grand scheme of things, trying to mitigate damage here in Halloween. Definitely better than some bad options out there, the worst options out there. We've got some vegetable oil here, but they specifically say palm kernel and palm oil, which we're totally fine with. And then peanut flour, not optimal, but again, in the grand scheme of things, there's definitely worse stuff out there. Yellow corn flour, not optimal, but grand scheme of things, there's definitely worse stuff out there. And annatto color, by the way, is totally fine. It's a natural coloring agent. So, I mean, Butterfingers, again, this is not something that we're approving, and we're not saying it's something good for us as adults to consume outside of this holiday season. But as you're assessing treats coming in, this might be something that's on a better of that whole worst to better scale. And then we look at Twix. No surprise, we've got some wheat in here, so this is something we'd say is completely off plan. And then you combine the wheat with some of the other things that we're not fans of, then I'd say it's just Twix and anything cookie or bread based would not be worth it. Jolly Ranchers, I was really hoping for something good here. We got corn syrup, and then we've got like all these different artificial colors, so I don't think that this would be something that I would allow. This might be in the gray areas zone. I truly feel like the artificial colors and dyes and preservatives are something that are way too damaging to mess with. And then we look at Starburst. Starburst here, they use hydrogenated palm kernel oil. That's how they get the firmness of the candy. And so that by itself is enough for me to say it's completely off plan. And then you throw in the cornstarch and the artificial colors and preservatives. And I'd say that's something we need to stay away from. All right. Hershey's Kisses gets a thumbs up. For Halloween, for assessing treats coming in, what would be better would be dark chocolate Hershey's Kisses, but we can see here a very simple list of ingredients. So that would be something worth maybe allowing, all right? So those were examples. What I want us to take away from those examples is it's just a reading labels situation. That's really what it is. We just got to hone our skills, know what to look for. The big three are going to be wheat, artificial sweeteners, and then those toxic oils. And beyond that, outside of that, the artificial colors and dyes and preservatives would be my fourth one. And we saw some examples of some things that might be better on the spectrum of worst to SHT approved. Okay. So if you have any questions, comments, feedback, let me know. And another big takeaway that we're not saying that those are things that are okay to have on occasion for us that are trying to optimize our health. We're just trying to say, hey, to mitigate damage, these are some things we might allow compared to the worst of the worst. All right. All right, so ideas for better treats to give out. So again, if we're committed to health and we're trying to do the right thing, then we don't want to poison other people to the best of our abilities. We had a really good conversation in our live Zoom meeting on this, and one of my good friends brought up the fact that she bought some stuff at Costco, one of the huge bags of all these different candies, and sent it to, I can't remember, some child organization, Ronald McDonald House or something like that, and she thought she was doing a really good thing. And then we went through this information. She's like, "Oh my God, I feel so bad." And I'm like, you know what? Like, you had a really good intention behind it, trying to do a good thing. But now, what we want to do is learn there are other things that we can do that aren't so bad. So if we're committed to health for ourselves, then we could be committed to health for other people. And so this is just some useful information that you can use to put in the back of your mind and hopefully help you make better decisions going forward. Okay, so we're going to talk about some approved candies and treats. I think stickers is a really, really good idea. I remember trick-or-treating and getting nickels, dimes, and sometimes quarters. And I thought that was just so awesome. So you can always give those things out. And then we got some creative note ideas, all right? So there's some, we have links to all these different things in our community website. So if you're not a part of that, we have a free trial available for you. You can go in there and just check it out. You can check it out just for the links to this stuff if you want, but you can also search for the names of these things. This Nib More was actually a really, really good product and came in little individually wrapped packages. So this would be something good to hand out, all the ingredients checked out, okay? Something else, you can find plenty of dark chocolate, individually wrapped little candies that have a very simple list of ingredients. This is one of the first ones that I found, Bouchard, Belgian chocolate, dark chocolate. So again, you can get a big bag for a decent amount, a small amount of money, and then you can hand these out. That would be something completely appropriate, right? My sister had brought this up to me. These are good snacks to use instead of fruit roll-ups. And if I'm not mistaken, they have little trial packages and little things that you can hand out. They might be expensive to hand out these big ones, but if you can find someone with some little trial sizes to hand out, that might be appropriate. Look at the simple list of ingredients here: apples, pears, strawberries, and black carrot extract. So, and then that's it. Another really good product, almost like a fruit roll-up, and very simple list of ingredients. They also have these little trial sizes, fun size bars, with a lot of different versions. And the list of ingredients is very simple and very cost effective. This might be something you can hand out. And then if you go into most of the health food stores, Whole Foods, Natural Grocers, Sprouts, Trader Joe's, you're going to see these Unreal bars. And I can't remember if they are individually wrapped or not. If they're not individually wrapped, obviously it might not be something you can hand out for trick or treat, but you could have available for parties inside your house. And maybe they do have individually wrapped ones. I can't remember. But you can see here a very simple list of ingredients. And the ones that I checked out had appropriate ingredients. I'm sure there's a possibility some may not. Some may have some wheat or some cookie type stuff in it. Okay, so the Unreal line, something to look at for sure. We were looking for some lollipops. So this Yum Earth I thought was a really, really good choice. And if we look at the simple list of ingredients here, we could definitely nitpick brown rice sugar or brown rice syrup. But in the grand scheme of things, I think this is a much better win than having something that has those artificial dyes and preservatives and toxic oils and things like that. So this would be an appropriate lollipop to hand out. This was another one that was kind of new to me, Zollipops. It's got a few sugar alcohols that it's sweetened with, so it actually has, if I'm not mistaken, 0 sugars. Yeah, so this would be something really good to hand out. I have not tasted it, so I have no idea what it tastes like, but it had really good reviews on Amazon. Another really good company is Enjoy Life, and we like a lot of their products, not necessarily all of them. And if we look at this very simple list of ingredients, if you're handing out these little mini cookie packages, I think it would be perfectly fine. We got a little bit of brown rice in here. Those of you that are familiar with the SHT know that we're not as big of fans of brown rice versus white rice. But again, in the grand scheme of things, this is not a gluten-based grain, so I think it's perfectly fine. And then buckwheat is a gluten-free grain, and then everything else seems to check out and looks great, right? Palm shortening we're totally fine with. So this might be a good option. And then I used to love caramels. So we got Tom and Jenny's here, very simple list of ingredients. The maltol syrup is if I'm not mistaken, it's a sugar alcohol, totally fine with it. Everything else checks out. And so this is a low sugar option, actually a no sugar option, and had really good reviews on Amazon. I haven't personally tried them. So that was a list of appropriate treats to give out, okay? Again, I want to make the same caveat that this is not meant to say that these are things that are appropriate to have in your house on a regular basis. But as we're trying to navigate the Halloween season and we're giving things out for treats and we're having people over, those might be some appropriate choices, okay? All right, cool. Another thing that I thought was really creative and awesome was give out cool stickers. So I've got some links to some ones that I kind of handpicked, some really cool ones that seem to be really cost effective. We got some window decals and stickers. We got little stickers that you can put on the back of hands of kids that are trick-or-treating, and we got these little felt ones. So I think stickers in general would be something cool to look for. I love the idea of these little business card size little motivational statements. Very inexpensive. Again, you can hand these out. I don't know how excited kids would be about this. I would be excited about it, but you'd be different for sure. You can also have these in a big bowl in your house that people can grab when they come in. I think that's really cool. And I tried to find some really cool mindfulness kind of motivational cards to hand out, and I found some decks of cards. I'm not sure how cost effective this would be to hand out, but maybe it's something that you feel like fits. We have some cards here, personal Power Thought cards by Louise Hay, which I absolutely love. These are great. Again, not sure how cost effective those would be to hand out, but then I also found some empowering question cards, which were really cool. And this was definitely cost effective. It was a really big pack for a small amount of money, and I think it would be really cool to hand out as a treat. Okay, so that is our best suggestions for keeping it real as you're navigating yourself through the holidays, some things to consider as you're assessing your kids' treats as they come in, and some things to consider for options that you can use to hand out as treats or to have as your guests come over. Again, I just want to make clear that we are not saying that these treats are appropriate to have on a regular basis, but as we navigate Halloween, it can help you make some better choices, okay? Comments and feedback are welcome. Like I mentioned before, we have much more detail. All the resources and links and things are inside our little community website at community.superhumantransformation.com. We would love to see you in there. Right now we have a free trial going for 7 days, and you can see if you like it. You're not committed. You can cancel anytime, but I don't think you'll want to because it's so awesome in there, okay? Hope to see you guys soon.